me about it. Come on, let's talk about it. Change up the things you see. Open your mind to possibilities. Find your power, passion, and your purpose. You know it's time for you to walk in greatness. Let's murder mediocrity. Slay your goals, live out your dreams.
How do you create a vision that can absolutely transform your life, and why it's important that we start with this step? Now, I want to share a little bit of my story. I think whenever I tell my story, I always share something that folks haven't heard. And I share the story about getting kicked out of college. And by the way, let me say this. The Creator has a funny way of making his point. In that, I shouldn't be where I am. I shouldn't be on the radio speaking to you this morning, talking to you, let alone teaching you as a college dropout. Or not, no, I can't say I dropped out. As a college, got kicked out. I got kicked out. And most of you all know this, but at the age of 22, I hit what I felt was rock bottom in my life. Like, with all these opportunities around me, I had squandered just about every opportunity that you could think of, from jobs to school to even some relationships. I squandered most of these opportunities. And I was home broke. And I got, the amazing blessing of being connected to a gentleman who mentored me and in many ways breathed hope back into me. And I really relate to young people who feel hopeless, because I understand what that feels like. And connecting with this mentor, the first thing he taught me, and I believe is the most important, is purpose. Like, the importance of knowing your life's purpose. Like, knowing and understanding your life's purpose and living out that purpose. And I remember as a young man, most of my questions were around money. It was like, well, how do I make money? How do I create the level of financial success that you've created? And I would get frustrated when he would always point me back to, live your life's purpose, young man, and you'll get everything that's coming to you. And I couldn't quite, to me, financial wealth and success, it felt like this formula, like this 2 + 2 = 4 formula that folks had that they weren't willing to share. And so when he would say, purpose, young man, in the back of my young mind, I would always feel like he was leaving just a little bit off the table so I wouldn't get there. Somebody, they giving me some advice, but they're not giving me all the advice. So I felt like that. But because he was successful, I decided to trust the process. And I followed his advice to live and distinguish my purpose. Live and distinguish my purpose. And following my purpose was not always that easy, because it required that I make difficult choices at times, sometimes counterintuitive choices. And the second thing that him and I talked a lot about was this idea of creating a life vision. Creating a life vision. So mind you, at the time when we were having these conversations, again, I'm broke, no car, living in my mom's basement. And the only way I knew how to envision, the only thing I knew what to envision, were the things that I wanted, the things that I desired. And so I'm like, okay, it'd be nice to have a good job. It would be nice to have a car. And it would be nice to have my own place. Linnell, where do you want to be in the next 10 years? And by the way, as I ask you these questions, these are things that I want you to think about. where do you want to be in the next 10 years? When you are in your early 30s, at the time I'm in my early 20s, where do you want to be? And in my mind, it was very clear. Well, I don't know how I'll get there, but at a minimum, if I can have a vehicle, if I can have a good job that's paying me decent money, and if I could have my own place, like living in my own place, I'd be happy. And so that was the very first vision I ever crafted in my life and I even tell you the kind of car I wanted. I wanted, like the car I had in my vision was that Ford Explorer. Ford, like SUVs were new. I'm dating myself now. But SUVs were new. It's like a new concept. And the Ford Explorer, that two-tone Ford Explorer was so gorgeous to me. And so I would envision that. I would envision living in my own place. And I would envision whatever it felt like to have resources and have a job. At the time, I had to walk where I wanted to go and ride public transportation. And I remember thinking about this. And it felt so impossible, like where I was to where I wanted to be. Just those simple things, just those very simple things felt very difficult to attain. So far out of my reach. And with the vision, I knew, well, if this is what I want to build, then there's certain things that I'm going to have to do, certain actions I'm going to have to take. And so I decided to go back to school. I went to the junior college in my area, Triton College. I went back to Triton College, and I'm like, okay, let me finish and get an associate's degree. Like at a minimum, let me get something. Let me finish and get an associate's degree. And so I went back, I studied some courses, computer courses, Microsoft Suite courses. Microsoft Suite was like new back then. Again, like updating myself, it was brand new. And so I learned how to use that. I learned how to build access databases. And I decided I was going to get really good at these things because they were new. And I had a knack for it. That led me to getting my first job, the first solid job I held, really in my lifetime. Because, you know, if you know my story previous to this, like I would work a job. I worked at Jules, I got fired. I worked at Sears, I got fired. Like I worked at Ventures, I got fired. Again, I'm dating myself because some of these companies like Ventures, they're like out of business, right? But I couldn't hold down these jobs. Like for whatever reason, it's very difficult for me to hold down these jobs. Or I would just do things and they'd be like, you know, Mr. Harris, you can. I mean, my father got me a job at United Airlines. He worked at United Airlines. And he was like, all right, son, get you this job. You know, look, don't mess this up. I think I lasted 3 weeks. I think it was 3 weeks, maybe 2, right, before they fired me. And you can only imagine that conversation, him coming home, like, what happened? Like, well, you know, it was always something. And I'm sharing this because I think sometimes when people look at where you are now, they say, well, you're just different. You know, yeah, okay, you could talk to me about the power of vision, Linnell, but look at your life. Of course, you don't mind casting visions, but my life wasn't always like this. And I'm telling you, like, I had some significant struggles. Take procrastination, for instance, and just doing what I knew I was supposed to do. I knew what I was supposed to do, and doing it felt incredibly difficult. Like, there was always something, and I think about it because in my early 20s, I didn't have nothing to do. So why can't I just do what I'm supposed to do? But I would just I would kick the can down the road. So I have this first vision. I go into my first job that I held down, which was at Kinko's. This is before it was FedEx. FedEx Kinko's. Is it still Kinko's or is it just FedEx? The FedEx store now, right? It's the FedEx store. And I hold this job down, and what was different with this job that I didn't have at the previous jobs is I had a vision. And I really want you to, because I actually held this job down. And I was thinking about it last night. I'm like, what was the difference because I couldn't keep any of the other jobs, but I kept this job. Was it desperation? It was like, no, I was desperate before. I still lost the job. Was it because I was so broke? Nah, I was broke before. I still lost the job. Like at United, I hadn't even got my first paycheck when I got fired. Like, so when I got my first paycheck, I was no longer with the company. Okay. So I'm like, that wasn't like none of those things. Like it wasn't the jobs. It was when I started working at Kinko's, the only thing that shifted in my life was that I had a vision. I knew why I was going there and dealing with the frustrations, the things I didn't want to deal with. I knew why I was dealing with those things because I'm building something now. I had a picture in my mind for where I was going. And I knew how that job got me there. So it was the vision that changed things. Now, the procrastination, a lot of stuff, that continued. I worked there for a couple of years, and then my mom, my late mother, thank God for her, was like, is this all you gonna do? Because I was, sad. I was getting a little money. At this point, I had my first car. Actually, my second car. I had a car earlier in my teenage years. So I got my second car. Now I got wheels again. And I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, at this point, I made myself comfortable in the basement. Had a little money in my pocket. Was buying clothes. Had a little girlfriend. I'm all right. I'm okay. Matter of fact, the reason I bought the car was not because I was so inspired by my vision, but because I wanted to be able to take this girl out. So I need a car now. And this is really how I was making decisions. And I'm sharing this because I want you to understand that, like, I didn't always have it figured out, like, at all. Like, this is a point in my life where it is not figured out. Like, I have no clue. And it's funny because I'll get these messages from moms, my son. I'm like, it's okay. How old is your son? Oh, yeah, you got time. And I could say that because I can only imagine the prayers my mom was praying for me. So my mom says to me, is this all you want? And I realized, like, yeah, working at Kinko's ain't it. I'm looking at my manager, the kind of car he's driving. It's not a Ford Explorer, right? And I'm just being real, like, this is how vision changed my life, you all. It's not a Ford Explorer. And I realized that I can't necessarily afford to go purchase a piece of property, let alone rent. And so, like, I do need to upgrade. And again, I upgraded based on the vision. I'm like, okay, so the vision for my life, I want a place to live, I want a nice car, I want to make more money, I gotta upgrade. That's a story in itself, but long story short, I end up in an entry level at Allstate Insurance. That was 2001. 2000 or 2000, I think it was 2000, I'm sorry. It was 2000. Now, I'm going to jump. 15 years later, I leave corporate America as a vice president and officer of a company. And I leave to put more effort into a brand new vision to start my own company and to go to a completely another level, because at this point, I've done everything I envisioned the first time. 15 years later. Like, and for anybody who works in corporate America, like, I really want you to understand this. Like, from the time I came into Allstate Insurance to the time where I became a vice president and officer of a Fortune 500 company was 12 years. 12 years. I attribute vision to that. Like, vision. Like, I had a vision for my life and I was following it. As I got a bit older, in my late 20s, I started to get better at this. Because here's what happens. You see, like, oh, man, I created what I wanted. I had my first piece of property. I'm living in my own piece of property by the age of 25, 26 years old. So, just fast forward 3 years from casting that first vision. 22 was when I was broke. 3 years from casting that first vision, I have my own piece of property. I'm now driving my third car, which is an upgrade from the second car, right? And life is good. I got a pretty girlfriend. By the way, at, late 20s, this is what mattered. Life is good, and I'm using everything I'm going to teach you to you in the second hour. I'm using all these things to craft my life, most importantly, align with my purpose. Now, I wasn't where I am now. I didn't have the clarity I have now, all these things, right? But at a minimum, it was like I was doing what I knew how to do. "12 years. I left corporate America 2015, and the vision was to create a company that basically replaced my income. That was the vision. Create a company that provides me personal freedom to actually live my purpose and make the same thing I was making in corporate America. Which, by the way, because I was a vice president and officer, the amount of money I was making, like my bonus was more than some people make in a year. And I remember the first time I got that bonus, and I was just like, how I'm just looking at the printout. It went direct deposit, but you get the printout. And I'm looking at this printout like, wow, I made it. Like I felt like at that point in my life, I made it. Like, I made it. This is amazing. Like, this is a 5-figure, when I say 5-figure, it's close to 6-figure bonus. I'm in my early 30s. I do not have a bachelor's degree. And I can go through the process of how I created that in corporate America, but once again, I created that. The power of vision is incredibly powerful. It's more powerful than a bachelor's degree. It's more powerful than a master's degree. It's more powerful than a doctor. And I can say all these things because without those degrees, I use vision to get where I am. And I've created a life where doctors call me for support. Like, it's like the 22-year-old me would be baffled by that. Like, I would never believe it. Like, that guy would never believe it. But this is the power of setting and crafting a powerful vision. This is the power. So here I am. It's 2010 now. And I'm not an officer yet. I made officer 2012, 2013. So I'm not an officer yet, but I'm a director in an organization. And if anybody who knows, like Fortune 500 directors make 6 figures above. And I'm running global operations for a different company now. I'm not with Allstate anymore. I'm with a wireless telecommunications company. And I run global operations for this company. And let's see, 2010, I am about 34 years old. About 34 years old. And I remember it like it's yesterday. I had just completed like this tour through Central America. We were looking for a particular site. I would build out call centers, like from scratch. So I've started call centers all over the world, from India to Nicaragua to Jamaica. Like, this is what I used to do. Same guy, by the way. The same guy who doesn't have any education. Like, so just wrap your mind around. I'm leading global customer service operations for a Fortune 500 company with a $300 million budget. This is the same guy, right? This is the power of vision, you all. This is the power of vision. And I remember it. We had just did this tour. Like, we did like Costa Rica, Jamaica. We'd done this tour. And now I'm in El Salvador. This is the end of the tour. I've been gone for a while. And I'm sharing this with you guys because imagine a 34-year-old, brothers, single, and I'm just bouncing around Central American countries, spending weekends in Jamaica, like on the company's tab, like I'm working. right? Like, for most people, you would say that's a good life. I got Ida in the studio. I mean, would you say that's a pretty decent life? It's a pretty decent life. But it wasn't the life that aligned with my purpose that I had envisioned. Like, so at this point, something drops in my spirit and it's like, hey, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. You have a purpose. And I remember we're in El Salvador, and the capital city of El Salvador is San Salvador. We're driving from the city back to the airport. The airport was like way outside the city. Still is outside the city. And we're on this road, and I'm with a couple of my colleagues. We're sitting in the car. They're having a conversation. I just tune out because something inside me is dissatisfied with my life. And I can't figure this out. Like, why do I feel this level of dissatisfaction? I got a good life. I got a good life. And for anybody right now where, you understand what I'm saying. You got a good life, and you also know that this good life is not aligning with your vision. I really want you to listen to this. And so we're driving, and it's like, if it drops in my spirit, the Creator's like speaking to me, like, it is time for you to get serious about your purpose. And my purpose, again, is to help myself and others live the best life possible. Like, you have done now what you need to do to gain the credibility to support other people. And it was clear to me, like, the life you're living right now, that's a life that now is credible. At 22, nobody would listen. And I knew that, so it was like, okay, let me go build myself. But now you're traveling the world. You've been to over 30 countries, 300 cities. Like, you've seen the world. You're making more money than like the majority of the population, than 90% of the population. Like, you have something to say, something to tell. And there was a piece of me that didn't want to. Like, it was like, like, this is good. I think at the time I had a girlfriend in Panama. Like, why would I can get there. Getting from Nicaragua to Panama was like a 45-minute plane ride. Like, if I give up this life, like, how am I going to continue to live my life? And it really hit me on that trip from, to the airport in in El Salvador. But I couldn't shake it after that. I couldn't shake it. And so I sat down and I did what I know how to do. And I crafted the next portion of my life vision. I tell my son all the time, like, hey, daddy's lived 3 lives. He's like, what do you mean, Dad? Like, I've lived 3 lives. And when I say that, it's because I had, one life in my young years up to that point of 22. Like, that was one life. And that ended, that was, what do you call those plays? That was a tragedy, like, or it was like a romantic, like when it goes downhill, like it was one of those tragedy plays, right? Like if it ended right at 22, it'd be like, whoa, that was bad. Okay. Then from there, it was like maybe the apex, like, oh, he comes back. And this is before I got married. That was one life. And then when I met my wife, that's another life. So I always say, I've lived 3 lives. But in the second life, now I'm writing a vision for my third life. And I want you to look at it this way, because many of us, the life that you've been living is not the only life you're going to have. Like, if you hear my words and you're like, okay, I want to go to the next level, I want to create a vision, like, you can literally craft and create a brand new life that is so different that you will tell people, like, I've lived multiple lives. Because each of my lives have been that different. Anybody that knew me in my late 20s, early 30s, they know I'm living a different life now. Okay, completely different. All right. So I craft this vision, and this vision is so big, it scares me. And at the time, I'm struggling with my health a little bit, so I'm like, okay, I want my health, like, I want to be, like, stronger than I've ever been. And I want I want to be in a relation. I want to be in like a for real relationship. Because at the time, even though I had a girlfriend in Panama, I had one in Chicago too. I'm just keeping it real. Like, all right. So I want, how I wrote it was, I want monogamous love, like in intimacy, like one person that fulfills me completely. And that felt like impossible. I want freedom from corporate America. Because while I had this ability to move like I moved, like all I did was work. All I did was work. And when I say that, you guys get what I mean. Like, I was having fun, but I worked a lot of hours. And I knew working like that would not sustain a family. You know, any woman would leave me. I actually had a girlfriend. We weren't even girlfriend, boyfriend yet, but I liked her a lot. And I remember us, dating a bit, me leaving town for like 3 weeks, coming back, and she came to the house, and she was like, I need you to sit down. She's like, I can't do this. My father does this. I saw how my mother lived. I'm not going to live like this. Goodbye. I was just devastated, like, wow. She's like, I don't want to live. And credit her for knowing what she wanted, But she's like, no, the way you travel, I ain't doing it. And good for her, because I had a girlfriend in Panama anyway. Ladies, listen, okay? So, you get where I'm going? All right. So, I'm crafting this vision. I want monogamy. I want freedom from a corporation. I want to build my own business. And more than anything, I want it to be aligned with my life's purpose. And I have a spiritual void, and I want to fill that spiritual void with a relationship with the Creator. I was not in a relationship at the time. Like, to think about, like, I would go weeks without praying. Like, I would pray when I got in the jam. Oh, Lord, please help. But I would go weeks without meditating, weeks without praying, no spiritual connection whatsoever. And these are the things that I'm asking for. And when I say it, like, I didn't know how to have a spiritual connection because the church hurt. Like, I didn't understand, like, there's things I didn't understand about churches and stuff. So I was like, I didn't know how to have a spiritual connection. So I craft this vision to basically create everything I don't know how to create. Everything, at this point, I got the job, I got a good life. But now I'm crafting a vision that requires that I change everything. Whoo! Right? And there's a part of me, there's a rational part of me that's like, what are you doing? This is stupid. You are living the life that most people want, and you're dissatisfied. So you're gonna go for this over here? Like, you're fine. You're okay. Why are you doing that? But I knew my purpose, and I'm like, I will not feel fulfilled unless I continue down this path. I have to continue down this path. So I craft a vision, 2010, that I'm going to do these things. And that, a year later, Inspirational Perspective is born. A year later. And it's the concept. It's not a radio show. It doesn't make any money. Right? It wasn't even an EIN number. Like, it was just a concept. I woke out of my sleep one day and wrote down Inspirational Perspective. But the inspiration came from the vision. At this point, I'm not just living in the right now, but I'm waking up and meditating on my vision almost every day, and I can see what I need to do. I'm taking action based on what I like, and I don't know how to do a lot of things. I'm just taking the action in front of me. That was the vision I created. I'm going to tell you, like, this is mom. Like, I credit my mother. My mother, when I was working at Kinko's, my mom was saying, this all you going to do? Like that, it did something to me. Like, I was comfortable. And it reminded me of how important it is to stay uncomfortable. And one of the things about vision, a life's vision will make you uncomfortable where you are. Because even now, like my wife and I, we have a great life, beautiful children, but we're still like we're like, okay, there's more to build in alignment with purpose and impact. And so there's a level of discomfort with where we are. I'll give you an example. Let me give you an example of what I mean. So many of you all know that my brother and I, we run a rental car company. And, so we have these high-end cars. And typically when we deliver high-end cars, like we do it. We don't have the guys that work for us do it because of the level of investment put into that car. So this weekend, Lamorne Morris, many of you might know that name. The brother, he's a actor and comedian. So he's home for the holidays, and he rents out one of our high-end vehicles. And so I dropped the vehicle to him. And my wife and I, we love our home. Like, we think we have a beautiful home. But there's levels to this. Okay? I pull up in front of this brother's house, man. And by the way, vision is not just about material things, but I will tell you that one of the side effects of vision are material things. Now, I would say the vision shouldn't be about material things. It should be about you and what you are going to create. And when you create a vision of material things, it shows up like what happens for most folks. Like, they get caught in consumerism. You're trying to get, because a lot of this stuff you can go get, right? And so I prefer to have a vision for my life where the side effect is material versus material things. But anyway, I pull up in front of this brother's house. And I get my phone call, say, hey, man, I'm out here. He's, oh, cool, I'm opening the garage, pull into the garage to drop this truck off. We get into a conversation. He's like, yeah, this is my Chicago house. Now, the house is already stupid. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous. But this is just his Chicago house, right? And my point is that this is often the side effect of vision, right? So I could be comfortable, or I could say, hey, look, man, there's more to go. There's more impact to have and more to build. And I want more side effects, if you all get my point, right? And so be very leery of being comfortable. And it's the difference between being satisfied, right? Being content. Scripture says, I'm content in all things. There's a difference in being content and uncomfortable. There's a difference. But my mom, she would push discomfort. You are capable of more. You are capable of more. I love you, and you're capable of more. I'm proud of you, and you're capable of more. Right? The same way that, I do my son now. And Rain, as soon as she can cognitively understand it. Right? I'm proud of you, and you're capable of. Yesterday, my son and I were doing math, and he was like, knocking out the 9 plus 3s and stuff. And he's like, ha, ha, ha. And I'm like, okay, yeah, all right. What's 52 plus 13? He like, oh, I'm like, right. You're capable of more. Now I'm going to teach you how to do it. Right? Now I'm going to teach you how to do it because you're too comfortable with 9 plus 3 and you laughing and running around like you're a genius. Now let's do something different, right? You're capable of more. I'm going to push him, right? Let's get uncomfortable again. And so that's how we all should be doing that. Great question, Cantice. There was one more question here that I want to answer, and then we'll get into how. Anyway, long story short, I had the conversation with the brother Lamorne Morris, and one of the questions I asked him was like, "How you get, man? What vision?" He was like, "Man, all I did is I planted being on stage and being behind that camera in my mind, and I did everything that came to me." He's like, "That's how I got where I am." I'm like, makes sense, right? Linnell, you said you had not yet connected with the Creator, but now that you have, do you believe that it is the Creator who ordered your steps? All the time. I can answer that right off the top. Even when I was disconnected, it was the Creator who brought the mentor in my life. It was the Creator who urged my mom to push me. It was the Creator who protected me from some of the foolishness that I got involved in. Like, let's be clear. Like, he knew the purpose for my life. And I believe that despite my indiscretions, he protected me. And I believe that many times we only have so far we can go. Thank God I didn't go too far, right? Like, it clicked. Like in 2010, something started clicking for me. Like, man, you gotta. And by the time I was 35, I was like, I'm done with this life. Like, I need healing. I want to be with one woman. Like all this, but all that came from the Creator himself, Joyce. Do you think the feeling of unease in your good life was the Creator nudging you to your purpose? 100%. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense, because I had a good life. It was the Creator is already inside of us. And so that discomfort I feel was my spirit saying, this ain't it. There's so much more you're supposed to do. This is not it. And so if you remember, this is for Joyce and everybody else. If you remember, one of the things that I talked about last week was vision requires silence. And up to that point in my life, there was a lot of noise. I mean, from parties, even these different countries, we go out VIP. VIP was like $30. All you can drink. Like, it was a lot of noise in my life. Just noise. And in 2010, the Creator took the desire from us. Like, it's like I had to sit in silence. I didn't even want to go out no more. It was like, so now I'm in silence, and he's just laying out, this is what I need you to do. This is what it looks like. This is the vision. And so vision requires silence, and vision requires radical belief. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. I told the Facebook family before that prompted some of these questions. There's a really good questions. Thank you all. Just because you're doing good does not mean you are living your life fully aligned with what is right for you. What is right for you is spectacular. I really want you to, good is one thing. What is right for you, the lane you're supposed to be in, is spectacular. It will blow your mind when you're aligned with your purpose. It will blow your mind. And this is one of the reasons that when it comes to even people like myself, people who are teachers, who are leaders, learn from them, but never try to become them. You were not designed to be them. You were designed to be you. You were designed to be you. And that is why you have to live life fully aligned with what is right for you. I just said it. I'm not Lamorne Morris. It's not my life. That's not what I'm up to. Right? This is what I'm doing here, and what I'll be doing in the future. That will be aligned with my vision. That is what I'm up to. I have no desire to live that man's life, right? Because I'm so fulfilled in this one. The access door, this is very important. The access door to true vision is being in full relationship with yourself and knowing yourself. Why? Many of us, we're not living our true vision. We're living a version of what we think we can do because we don't know ourselves. And because you don't know yourself, you have no idea what you're capable of. You have no idea what you are capable of. The access door to true vision is knowing yourself. And the barrier to powerful vision is a complete loss of who you are. Like, you cannot have a powerful vision for your life when you're not intimately connected to who you are. Being intimately connected to who you are means that you actually know that the Creator Spirit is inside of you. Like, you start to touch it and you're like, ooh, that's powerful. That means if I tap into that, something explosive could happen. Right? Like, ooh, that's what I'm capable of. And all of a sudden, like, you go from, I just want a good job, to I can have it all. Right? And you get my point when I say I can have it all. I can have all that's coming to me, all that's promised to me by the Creator. And this is why I keep harping on therapy and trauma. Because trauma is a disconnection and therapy is the reconnection. I had somebody ask me, my barber, him and I were having a conversation about somebody I know who had a traumatic experience. He was like, you think he can heal from that? I said, absolutely. Absolutely. Any wound that you have received in this life, the Creator can heal. But you have to do the work. You have to do the work. And then when you are whole, that's when the whole vision will reveal itself to you. But when I was broken, like, I couldn't see this. You get where I'm going? Like, it was after I started getting therapy and healing, and then all of a sudden it began to, like, the vision began to scale. It was like, oh my, this is what's available? Wow. So once again, vision requires silence, and vision requires radical belief. So here's step number 1 to crafting a powerful vision in your life. The first step to crafting a powerful vision in your life is you have to address your belief system. You must address your belief system. You have to gain awareness around your limiting beliefs. In 2012, mind you, I had the first part of the vision came in 2010. You're supposed to do something else. I started thinking about this. Inspirational Perspective was born in 2011. I started blogging. I'm writing. I'm sharing myself. And then it hits me, hey, there's some things you got to handle. Like, I could see that I only had access to a certain portion. And I noticed the limiting beliefs. I've given this example before, but my life at that point was created within the realm of my limiting beliefs. Even the house I lived in, the building I lived in, was a reflection of what I believed I could do, but not what I could do, right? But it was a reflection of what I believed I could do. So the reason I lived in that house is because I believed that's what I could get and nothing more. Matter of fact, when I would go to coworkers' houses who were making the same amount of money as me, I would be fascinated that they could live in those places when I made the same money. But the reason I didn't believe I could live in those places is because I didn't believe I could live in those places. Does that make sense? Right? Same amount of money. I just didn't believe that I could do it. Like, oh, this is nice. Well, they came up different, or who knows, maybe they had it. I have all these stories I would make for why I couldn't do that, because I didn't believe that I could do it. You have to know your limiting beliefs and your belief system. This is why I got involved in coaching you all. This right here. I remember years ago, 2012, I walked into this session. And I'm searching at this point because I realized, like, man, I got stops. Because, and by the way, how I noticed my stops was I had a brand new vision. I want to create this in my life. I can see it. I have no idea how to get there. And some of the things that I see I'm supposed to do, like, there's a part of me that doesn't believe it's possible. But I know it's possible. I know it's possible. I know all things are possible, but I don't know if I can do it. I need to address my limiting beliefs. By the way, I couldn't articulate it this clean back then. I just knew something was, quote unquote wrong, or I felt like something needed to be fixed. And so I'm going to go fix myself. And I remember one of the first things I learned is coaching is not fixing you. You're already whole. We're just going to wake you up and create awareness around what you need. And I thought, all right, I could rock with that. Now, here's the thing about vision. When you know where you want to go, it makes what otherwise would be difficult choices much more simple to make. I shared this last week in terms of, dropping 5 figures on a program for 2024. It's like, well, this is part of the vision. Like, this is the path towards me going, like, it's so clear to me. But back then, I didn't have the knowledge I have. And I remember when they gave me the price for coaching, for this coaching certification and getting a coach. I was just like, okay, really? I got to go down this path? And it wasn't like I didn't have the money. I just didn't want to spend it. But I did spend it because I had a vision. A lot of us, we're not making the investment we need to make in ourselves because we don't have a vision for our life. So that's why you can't understand why your cousin or your loved one is spending so much on therapy. You don't understand it because they got a vision. You don't. That's why you can't understand why so-and-so keeps a life coach is like because they have a vision and you don't. And when you have a vision, you are willing to invest in that vision. Like, because you see it so clearly, like if the only barrier between where I'm looking to go and where I need to be is a monetary investment, then let me do that because I believe. I believe in myself. If I spend this money, like, and here's the thing, here's the crazy part, you all, that I believe no matter how good or poor the coaching program I went through, I would have got what I needed because I opened the door. Because I believed. To me, belief is half, like belief is like more than half. Number one, you have to know your belief system. When I say life vision, if you craft just a work vision, let me tell you what's going to happen to you. You have to craft a holistic vision, you all. Like when I say life vision, every aspect of your life. You want your life to be stable. Here's what happens when powerful people only craft one type of vision. They might say, well, I want to be a millionaire. And they craft a vision to become a multimillionaire. And what happens to them is what happened to Elon Musk. Let me tell you what happened. So Elon Musk is operating two companies, SpaceX, Tesla. Both of them have phenomenal visions. But in order to go to sleep, he has to pop an Ambien, right? He's working 120 hours. His health is declining. By the way, he says all this. I believe it's a New York Times article, I believe. Don't quote me. You guys know. Go look it up. But he quotes this like, my life was falling apart. 2 marriages down the drain. Why? Because he crafted a working money vision and nothing else. You know, he will tell you, my first daughter hates me. His oldest daughter hates him. He's out of relationship. And so sometimes we look at these people and go, oh, man, how amazing is he? How amazing is she? And it's like, yeah, at what cost? At what cost? And this is why when we create a vision for our life, it has to be all-encompassing. All 4 pillars, your health and well-being. Your health and well-being includes your physical health, your mental dexterity, your emotional fitness. Now, what good is it to have a big working money goal and then to have a nervous breakdown? Because your mental health's not okay. Like, this is like crafting a powerful life vision requires that you take a holistic approach. Your relationships, you should have goals for your relationships, where you intend to be with your spouse, with your children, what you want to create. Part of what I'm creating right now in my business is the ability to scale so I can spend more time with my children as they get older. Like, one of my goals is that I actually have the ability to be I can't be a basketball coach today for my son. Right? And I'm like, that's not good. Like, if I'm about creating my life by design, then how do we create that? So the next step in the vision is, not only do I want the business to be bigger, not only do I want the financial wealth to increase, but I want more time. So while all that is going up, so is my time meter. And it was like, I can coach the team. Like, that's part of the vision. Well, Linnell, how you going to do that? I don't know, but I can see it. I can see it. That's part of the reason I spent all the money on the program, because they were like, the less you do, the more money you make. I said, sign me up. Sign me up for that program, right? Sign me up, because the vision dictates that's the direction I should go. Okay. Same thing in terms of your purpose and spirituality. I've said this before, but you can have a spiritual vision, and if you don't account for the money, then you could be incredibly spiritually connected and broke. And the problem is, people won't listen to you. Not in today's environment. You know, it's like, no, you're not credible. Ain't no fruit. I'm like, but I can pray for you. Then pray for me from a distance. Right? Like, you must craft and create a holistic life vision in all four pillars. Now, here's why beliefs are important. When you dial into a belief, that becomes your reality. So if I notice I don't believe something, then I'm like, I need to shift my belief. There was a time where, I had these insecurities around things I didn't know for sure I could do. When I first got on the radio, I wasn't quite that sure that I could do this, right? Like, radio? I did it because I believed I could learn it, right? That's called, I forget the name for that, but that's like efficacy. I'm sorry, efficacy. When I believe I can learn something, that's self-efficacy, right? So I had self-efficacy. And so I'm like, I can learn it. At this point in my life, if they like, Linnell, we're going to put you on TV. I'm like, all right. I don't even I'm not going to lay up. Can I do that? Yeah, I could do it. Right. My belief system has changed. Right. In terms of what I believe I can do. It's like, well, Linnell, here are all the things you got to do. If I see the list, I'm like, woo, that's a big list. I'm just going to say a prayer, meditate. All right, Lord, you put me here. Now you got to teach me how to do all these things. I believe I can learn all 50. You get where I'm going? Like, that's just where I am at this point in my life. Why? Because your beliefs control your behavior. Write that down. Your beliefs control your behavior. Beliefs are subconscious. We talked about this last week. Slay Your Goals members, we talked about all these 6 components of the mind. The 3 components of the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind. We talked about the cognitive, affective, and cognitive mind. We went deep with the Slay Your Goals members. You know this. All right? Your beliefs are stored in your subconscious. And so whatever you believe is subconscious, which means you got to watch your programming. Why do most black folk in the United States of America have self-doubt and imposter syndrome? It's the programming. You got to reprogram yourself. I used to deal with it. I don't deal with it anymore. I can walk into a room. I don't care what color, who they are, how old they are, where they came from, how much money they have. I belong. That's now a part of my belief system. It was not always that way. The belief system can be transformed. Your beliefs control your behavior, and more importantly, your beliefs control your actions. You wonder why you're not acting? It's because you don't even believe it. You don't believe it. Linnell, I've been a Slay Your Goals member for a long time, but I'm not taking action. It's because you don't believe. It's because you don't believe in yourself. So then here's the question you need to answer to gain some awareness so you can begin working on it. What are your limiting beliefs? Where are you being limited? Everything starts with awareness. And this is why coaching is so powerful, because the first part of coaching is awareness. Coaching provides you awareness that then provides you access to a choice. That don't mean you're going to choose, because you got habits. But then what coaching does is it helps you understand why you should choose what you're going to choose, so you can make a powerful choice outside of what your knee-jerk reaction may be. And that's where transformation happens. Number 2. Number 1 was belief. Number 2. Now, this one is difficult too. And the reason it's difficult is because many of us have now gotten to a point in our lives where we're tired of failing. We're tired of feeling bad. And so now we've unknowingly, subconsciously, unconsciously created a level playing field, so we're no longer disappointed. We don't have aspirations and dreams anymore, because aspirations and dreams create disappointment. And so I'm not going to have aspirations and dreams. I'm just going to be. So then what happens is you don't know what you want anymore, because you've actually started ignoring that voice that actually tells you you desire something, that you deeply yearn something. And number 2 is you have to get incredibly clear about what you deeply yearn for in each pillar of your life. Some folks ain't healthy because they just don't want to be. You don't have a desire for it. And let me tell you, to not have a desire to be healthy means that you're sick. It means, like, to not have a desire to be healthy means that you're mentally sick. Just let you sit with that. You're mentally sick. You have been programmed to not even care about your own health. But this, by the way, this is the new wave. The new wave is you're okay just the way you are. And I'm not saying that you're not. I'm not saying that God doesn't love you, that the Creator. But here's the thing. Are you as good as you could be? And since when did mediocre become the measuring stick? Like, well, I just get to be mediocre. And by the way, I'm talking about healthy. I ain't talking about a certain size. I ain't talking about a certain look. I'm talking about healthy. Okay? Don't mistake me. All right? I'm talking about just straight healthy. Having a deep desire and yearning for each pillar of your life. What do you deeply yearn for your health? What do you deeply yearn for? Like some of us, we flirt with the idea of relationship. You don't really want to be in a relationship because you still want to be in control. So control means more to you than relationship. And sometimes you just got to come down to, like understanding that. Like, okay, this is where I am. Because when you learn, like, okay, this is when you accept that, then all of a sudden maybe control starts to lose its stock. Like, this is the reason why. But a lot of times we just don't have the simple awareness. What do you deeply desire in every pillar of your life? What do you deeply desire? Like deeply, deeply. See, this is what I mean. You have to know yourself. Now, let me back up a little bit. There was one point in my life, if you ask me, you going to get married? I mean, I ain't never getting married. I ain't never getting married. Why? Because I wanted to keep the illusion of control in my life. I control my life. Ain't nobody else going to control my life. That woman ain't going to leave me, have me depressed. I'm not, like, ain't nobody going to control my life. I never want to be married. I would say that. And the only reason I would say that is because I was afraid. And I didn't have access to my own truth because I didn't fully know myself. As I started to learn more about myself, I started to uncover a deep desire for family. Well, I guess I do want a family. I guess I do want children. I guess I do want a legacy. I guess that means that I have to be married, and in order to be married, I have to give up this feeling or this thought of control. But then maybe it's not control. I mean, because I don't necessarily control much now. I have relationships with other people who could hurt me. And then I began to see the safety in marriage. It's like, oh, well, maybe. And all of a sudden, when I got the deep desire, I was able to craft a vision that now sometimes, I still can't believe. Like, I married a phenomenal woman, and I have a phenomenal family. All because of vision. But because I addressed this belief. And I actually allowed myself to have the deep desire. A desire that was so deep, I was willing to stop everything I was doing so I could create it. So, number 2, write down all your desires. I don't care if it takes 10, 12, 20 pages. You should be writing down your desires. Why? Because your desires are connected to passions. And your passions are like spiritual GPS. Your passions are like spiritual GPS. They tell you where you're supposed to go next so you can be in the part of life that you're supposed to be in. Number 2, what do you deeply desire? Write it down. Because here's the thing. Even the scriptures say it. Like, you can have it all if you seek first the kingdom. What is the kingdom? Your life's purpose And the vision aligned with that purpose. When you seek that, everything else shows up. I can account for it. Right? When you seek that, everything else shows up. A lot of us are like, well, I'll deliver on my life's purpose when I have everything. It don't work like that. Now, once you know what you desire, and this is a whole thing, right? This is a whole thing, because a lot of us, man, whew, we don't even know what we want. We don't even know what we want. And you say, Linnell, I know what I want. It's like, all right, well, look a little deeper. Like, look a little deeper. But once you do, like once you write down all your desires, and by the way, that's an exercise in self-awareness and self-actualization, to actually know what you desire. What you desire in your health, what you desire in your relationships. And let me tell you, man, the Creator is awesome. He can do things. I've been praying for my brother. You know, my brother, he'll tell you now he was alcoholic, but for years he wouldn't tell you that. I've been praying for him, and he just graduated from a program, sober. Like, the vision was to have my brother back. How? I had no control over how, because that man had to make a decision for himself. All I could do was pray. But when you write down your desires, when you're clear on your desires, man, the Creator, he has a way of just wowing you. Wowing you. Number 3, once you identify what it is that you desire, now you got to check the why. There have been some things that I've desired because that's what everybody else was doing. And so it was on my sheet. I desired this. I desired that. One of them, I'm like, I wrote down, I desire a boat on Lake Michigan. Wrote that down. It's like, well, why do you want a boat? And I realized, well, because I know people with boats. I want one too. It's like, is that really aligned with where you're supposed to go with the Creator? Like, is that an ego desire or is it a spiritual desire? It was like, yeah, that's the ego desire. I don't really need a boat on the lake. I really don't. And I got underneath, like, my why behind that is more so based on other folk than something I really want. I don't really, really want a boat. So I crossed it off. I don't got to have a boat. I don't want a boat no more, right? I thought I wanted a boat. But when I asked myself why do you deeply yearn for this result, I came up short. So I crossed it off. And this is how you know whether or not your desires are aligned with the Creator. Because let's be clear, some of the desires we have aren't aligned, right? But the ones that are aligned, they're leading you somewhere. The ones that are aligned, why do you want to be on a stage and inspire people? Why do you want a platform? It's like, well, because I feel like the Creator has revealed things to me and given me a certain amount of wisdom, and I have a talent to teach, and I want to share with my community because we're underserved. It's like, okay, let's line that up. Does that seem to fit? I can be proud of that. That fits. And that's not necessarily coming from ego, because I can make more money doing other things. And I've said that to folks. Like, if it was just about money, I wouldn't be doing this. If it was just about money, this is not, okay, yeah, coaching's a $20 billion industry, blah, 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 but there are $1 trillion industries that I would get into, okay? Like, let's be clear. With the level of cognitive ability the Creator gave me, like, if it was just about money, I would spend my hours differently every week. Understand that. Like, let's be clear. Like, hey, let's be very clear. This is a purpose walk, not a money walk. A purpose walk. And I'm cool with it. I'm excited about it. Don't take that the wrong way. I'm excited about it. But I'm a pretty good trader, too. And I mean, if I spent my whole week trading, woo! I only can imagine how much. Okay. All right. Why do you deeply yearn for this result? Is it connected? Is it ego? Is it purpose? Is it aligned? And this is how you begin to realize what should stay in the vision. Okay, this stays. The boat, that can go. But this stays, right? This is a part of the vision. This is what, when I think about my life in the next 10 years, this is where we are going. Number 4. Now, what do you need to shift to turn your yearnings, to turn your desires into reality? And when I say this, this is going to, it'll be very clear to you. Once you have the vision, the action steps are going to start showing up. It's just how it goes. I shared with you in 2010, I had the first vision. It was like, okay, you need to create a platform. Well, how can I create a platform? Well, people were blogging. It's like, okay, well, that will be the platform, blogging. What's the name of it going to be? I went to sleep that night, meditating and praying about it, woke up in the middle of the night, inspirational perspective. Okay, went and bought the domain. I could feel the creator saying, go buy it right now. Got out the bed, went to the computer, bought the domain, went back and laid back down. But that's how it started to come, right? I just took the actions as I was told to take the actions. Now imagine if I said I'm too tired, not going to do it, and then I kicked the can down the road. I wouldn't even be here. I wouldn't be here. This is why we have to act. When we see the action in front of us, we have to act on our vision. You must act on your vision. When you write down your vision, it should be clear and concise. Now, that's the vision statement. The vision itself can be pages. Like the desires, that's going to be pages, right? And number 2, when you write your vision, it should be written present tense as if it has already happened. Oh, I hope you understand how powerful this is. I hope you understand how powerful this is. I hope you understand how powerful this is. So if you recall, somebody asked on Facebook, what's number 3? So number 3 was, why do you deeply desire the result you're looking for? Like the desire you have. Why do you deeply desire it? Why do you deeply yearn for that result? That was number 3. Number 4, what do you need to shift to turn your yearnings into reality? This is where you begin to take action. All right, now we're talking about actually writing the vision. So that first part, those are the qualifiers. Like, what is your belief system? Like, you got to know those things just to get in rhythm. Okay, what is your belief system? What do you desire? Why do you desire it? And what do you need to do to shift those desires into reality? Like, what actions do you need to take? All right, now, here are the 4 ways. Here, I'm going to start 5. Here are the 5 things you need to do to write it all down. So you write it down in a clear, concise fashion. Like, one of the things I would suggest is that even with your desires, as you begin to line it out, like bullet point it, just make sentences. Make sentences on paper that you can come back to. Even if you read page number 2, it would inspire you. Because page number 2, you might have 5 pages of vision or bullet points. But page number 2, if you just take that and look at it, it's like, I will create, I will do this, I will be. It's like, man, that'll fire you up. Because nothing like reading your own vision. All right, so that's what I mean. Write down your vision statements in a clear, concise way. So those bullet points, clear and concise, okay? Don't make, if it's a paragraph, then you might want to go take the paragraph and say, this is like 3 bullet points. Make it clear and concise. All right. Your vision should be written present tense, as if it's already happened. Here's what we're doing. Remember I talked about that belief thing? Where some of us, like, we don't believe, and belief controls your behavior, belief controls your actions. Well, your beliefs are subconscious. So in order for us to begin to address, because I know somebody had this question, they're like, well, if I don't believe it, how do I do it? It's like, well, write it down. and then write it present tense as if you've already done it. Because now when you read it, you are actually reprogramming the subconscious mind. Oh, if you don't understand. If you don't even understand it, just do it. You don't even got to understand it, just do it. Just trust me. Trust me on this one. When you begin to read your vision from a present tense, oh man, like it does something to the brain, right? It's like, I am happy and grateful that I have multiple streams of income that have made me a multi-millionaire. Like, the conscious mind is like, we don't have money. The subconscious mind has no clue. It's like, we're millionaire. This is how the subconscious mind works, you guys. This is why you got to watch. You got to be careful what you watch and listen to. Because if you're listening to something that says, you know, I ain't nothing, or I ain't did nothing, I ain't gonna ever do nothing, I'm sad, I'm depressed, like, then, you know, the subconscious mind is like, well, we're sad and we're depressed and you don't understand why you feel that way. And that's why you put on the slow jams and the blues and you walk around the house moping. It's like, you know, because you got the bass guitar basically telling you that you don't feel good. And it's like, this is our present. This is how it's going to be. You better change it. You better flip the music. Put on Kirk Franklin's Smile. You know, all of a sudden you're like, well, why do I feel different? Because that's how the subconscious mind works. It works in alignment with your programming. Your life's vision is your program. One of the big problems we have is because we are operating on the wrong program. You're operating on the wrong program. Your life's vision is you actually writing your own programming system. Linnell, how did you become a corporate America executive without a bachelor's degree? Because I programmed my subconscious mind that I could be one. And because I believed I could be one, everybody else believed me too, including my bosses who said, well, you know, this requires a bachelor's degree. I just went back and kept reading my affirmation statements and kept visualizing my vision, meditating on that, and eventually my belief that I could convince them that I would. It's that simple. And sometimes I think it's so simple we don't believe it. It's like, that's too easy. Well, it ain't that easy, because now you got to meditate on it. You got to read it. And from what I understand working with people, that's the hard part, because you'll write it and put it up. But think about how your computer works. Every time you open it, it runs the same program. So every time you open your eyes, you should be running the same program. Let me go read this right quick. Right? It only makes sense. Well, you know, if this is my program, let me wake up in the morning and start running my program. I am happy and grateful that I have multiple forms of income and I'm a multi-millionaire. Like, you read that every day for 2-3 years, I guarantee you will be on, if you're not a millionaire, you'll be on your way. Your vision should also encompass your 5 senses in every place that you can put it. Why? Because, again, we're priming and reprogramming the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind doesn't know that when you read that out loud that it's not real. It just takes it in. So then when you mix it with sight, you know, I can see myself walking along the beach in front of my beachfront property. The subconscious mind goes, we got a beachfront property? Right? But now you're like, I feel the sand between my toes, and the subconscious mind says, there's sand under our feet? As the waves wash up, the cool water of the waves wash up against my ankles. We got our ankles in water? This is how the subconscious mind. So then it starts saying, well, we got beachfront property, so we got to act like we got to run the program. And then all of a sudden, you find yourself looking at beachfront properties. All of a sudden, you realize, well, you know, I didn't even realize we could afford a beachfront property. Like, this is how it works. So you bring in your 5 senses: sight, hearing, taste, smell, touch. What do you smell that morning? Some folks aren't in a relationship because they can't see themselves in relationship. And if they affirm that they're in a relationship, I'm happy and grateful that I wake up every morning with the love of my life. Then the vision is like, I wake up in the morning, I smell coffee coming from the kitchen. My love is making me breakfast. The subconscious mind is like, somebody cooking us breakfast? I hope y'all get how this works. So then you start I got to get my life ready. I got to clean my room and somebody going to be in here. That's the first action. Number 4, once you have these sheets of paper, maybe it's not organized, you begin to revise your vision. You put a revision to the vision. Notice how vision is in the word revision. So now you take it and you tighten it. Like I did. I don't want no boat, right? That's not a real desire, right? But this over here, absolutely. You begin to revise it. Then you write out your vision statement with those 5 senses. Here is the life that I've created. My health is, I'm in relationship with. My work has created this. My wealth is here. My connection to the Creator is here, and I'm living my purpose over there. With all the sight, hearing, taste, smell, touch that you can include. And once you have that, you have an operating vision. And you read that thing, and one thing I would suggest is you take the larger vision and you get it down to a sentence. So that way, even when you're rushing, you can program yourself. But I don't have time to read my whole vision like that every morning, Linnell. That's why you have the sentence, and you read that. And then this is why I drive in silence, you all. Because I'm driving, and I'll just be in the future. Right? I'm thinking about my vision. I'm thinking about my children and where they're going. This is where we're going to be. This is how we're going to live. This is what we're going to do. And I'm sorry, but ain't nothing on a Billboard 100 better than that to me. For me to reprogram myself, ain't nothing better than that. I don't need anything disrupting the program. Nothing. And this is how you create a powerful life vision. Your vision is in the thoughts that won't leave you. This is why you keep having. Your vision is your desire to change something in the world that makes you angry. The reason you get mad is because maybe, just maybe, you're supposed to do something about it. Treat your ideas like gold. See, when you have a vision, slay your goals was just an idea. 2016, the idea came to life. 2023, hundreds of lives have been changed. Treat your ideas like gold. Capture your thoughts. There's a scripture. I believe the Apostle Paul wrote it. Capture your thoughts. Somebody will find it. Capture your thoughts. Write them down. And know this, as we end, that the biggest enemy to your vision are the weeds that grow in your garden that will choke your dreams out. The distractions that will come to knock you off course. Your greatest enemy will be the weeds and your good life standing in the way of what could be great. Be great. Hey, my inspired peoples. Linnell Harris here, certified ontological coach and trainer. I'm so excited that you're watching the channel. By the way, did you know you can catch the show live at 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. every Sunday morning? You can. All you have to do is go to my Facebook stream, Coach Linnell Harris, catch the stream live, or you can listen to the radio show via iHeart at WVON 1690 AM. But since you're here, if you love the content, I ask that you share it, like this particular video, and subscribe to the channel. I hope you're having a great day.